I think it sounds good.
We can start.
Whenever you're ready.
Madison,
He confirmed, but if you want to wait,
We
or you
just
go
have a
ahead and
quorum
start.
without
We-
him anyway.
Right, okay.
okay, it is 5:30 p.m. We have a quorum, and I'd like to call the meeting for the Planning and Zoning Commission to order. My name is Steve McAllister. I'm the vice chair. I'd like to welcome everyone to this public hearing to discuss the cases we have listed on our agenda. A copy of the agenda is on the table in the foyer. Case information will be projected for public viewing and is also available on the city's website. If you've signed to speak regarding an item on the agenda, please limit your comments to 3 minutes. If you did not sign in and wish to comment on a case, you will have an opportunity to do so when the public discussion is open. Before starting, I'd like to introduce our board members. I'll start here on the left.
My name is Banks Smith. My address is 315 Harrison Avenue.
Nikki Spector, 401 Lamont.
Steve McAllister, 302 Patterson.
Una Cuffey, 260 Halcyon Drive.
Richard Belanseri, 126 Grove Place.
Okay, in addition, I'd like to introduce staff tonight. We have Tyler Brewer, Letty Hernandez. Garrett, okay. The next item on our agenda is the approval of the minutes. I know that they were emailed out. Has everyone had a chance to read them?
Yes.
Okay. Are there any amendments, corrections, or additions?
I would like to move that we approve the minutes.
Okay, can I have a
Second.
second?
I second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, none opposed. Okay. Staff, please read our next item on tonight's agenda.
Thank you, Mr. Vice Chair. For our first case tonight, we have case number 469, public hearing, consideration, and action regarding the request of Eric Baumgartner of LPA Design Studios, applicant on behalf of Alma Heights Independent School District, owner, to amend specific use permit SUP ordinance number 2258 for the purpose of amending certain development regulations related to required landscape buffers on the property located at 7001 Broadway Street, zoned multiple family dwelling district MFD. This will look familiar to P&Z. We heard this a few times, and it was ultimately approved or recommended for approval by Planning and Zoning. The SUP was, and then approved by City Council in May. After that time, the district submitted for plan review, and the plan before that you will see tonight is largely almost entirely unchanged. It just, at the time it came through with the SUP, didn't have some of the dimensions and callouts that we typically look for in our plan review, and that's kind of what led us to these requested amendments tonight. The requested amendments are only impacting 7001 Broadway Street, which is the property circled or rectangled off in red. And again, this is an SUP amendment just for that specific property. The Alma Heights School District is requesting an amendment to the side and rear yard landscape buffer regulations at the proposed district community center at 7001 Broadway Street. These address landscape buffer conflicts, again, that were discovered during plan review after the SUP was approved. And this amendment only impacts 7001 Broadway Street. Just a quick overview again, since we're just honing in on that one property tonight. The concept plan for 7001 Broadway Street is reflected on the screen, and a rendering of the proposed district community center is also up on the screen on the right side. Here's the site plan that has since gone through staff plan review. So there's 3 areas in question tonight. So with the SUP on both, for the side yard landscape buffer on both Tuxedo and Fair Oaks, the SUP approved a 6-foot wide landscape buffer. During plan review, the school district brought up something for consideration, which staff does agree with and has identified as an item that likely needs to be cleaned up in a code amendment, but just to make sure that this is codified and that there aren't any questions regarding what the school district is able to do. Thought it was appropriate to have it in the SUP. So the school district is, instead of a 6-foot wide landscape buffer along Tuxedo, they are requesting a 0-foot wide landscape buffer. Now, the school district will speak to this during their presentation, but they still have, they're keeping all the trees, and they still have a landscape buffer effectively on the property, but it is out in city right-of-way. So there is a visual and there's an actual landscape buffer there. It is just out in city right-of-way. Here is the property line. And then to speak to the item that came up during plan review, so the city's code does require the 6-foot wide landscape buffer, but it also allows a 0-foot setback, specifically, side yard setback specifically for properties along Broadway, to help foster more urban, walkable environments. So, I think we can have Eric speak to it more. P&Z has questions, but I think part of the school district's request tonight is to help provide clarification on that, because in theory, with a 0-foot side yard setback, you could build the building right up to the property line, but there's also a 6-foot wide landscape buffer that's in play that effectively is in conflict with that. Now, typically, when things are in conflict in the city's code, the more restrictive of the two applies, so staff still believes that the 6-foot wide landscape buffer does apply. But in this case, I think we can understand how the school district got to their thinking in this matter. So that is the Tuxedo request. The 6-foot wide landscape buffer along West Fair Oaks that was approved in the SUP is not changing. And then the final request, typically there's a 8-foot wide landscape buffer required in the rear yard for multifamily properties, and in order to fit the appropriate amount of parking and have the head-end parking along the site and fit more parking on the site, the school district has requested a 6-foot wide landscape buffer along the rear. Now, in the school district's defense on this was always part of the request, multiple iterations of the ordinance going back and forth. At a certain point, this did end up changing and was not included in the SUP, but that was reducing that landscape buffer by 2 feet was part of the original conversation. So all that to say, the site plan that you're seeing today is the same one that was in the SUP, just now has additional property line, landscape buffer, dimension clarifications, which then led to these issues coming up and the request before planning and zoning tonight.
Tyler, I have a question.
Yes, sir.
On any of these setbacks, are there utility easements in them?
Eric, do you happen to know that
Do you
off
know
the top of your
that?
head?
Evening, thank you for having me.
And state your name for the record.
Eric Baumgartner with LPA Design Studios. So the question was in between, within the right of way or
Are
within
any
the
of these
property?
two that we're talking about have utility easements inside them?
None that are platted or directly associated with here. There is a assumed buffer of or utility easement of 10 feet from the curb line that is through there. As you can sort of make out here in the diagram, the Tuxedo right-of-way is significantly larger than the rest of the streets that are running east-west there along the west side of Broadway. So the Fair Oaks, for example, I believe is a 60-foot right-of-way. It is a 75-foot right-of-way along Tuxedo. So and there's some extra footage there, and that is part of what we're going through. I think Tyler alluded to there, and just to give some dimensions to it, from the existing curb line on Tuxedo, from that curb line to the property line is 21 foot 4 inches. and we're proposing that still be landscaped, maintaining the mature trees that are there. The only improvements within that area will be bringing on the code-required 6-foot sidewalk as a city improvement within that. That's part of the development on the multifamily lot. Yep.
Any of the board members have any questions?
Yes, on Tuxedo, you have a setback line, and then you have, what kind of assurance do we have that there's actually going to be landscaping or yard, some yard beautification in that, in the setback line that the city has? If you have a building all the way up to the property line, and you say you have a 6-foot sidewalk, you're going to keep the trees, but what else are you going to keep within that area?
At this point, the current design allots for grass and ground covering, which goes through there. There's nothing currently in the code that, as we've had conversations about this, have added landscaping in terms of shrubs and additional plant matter for that. So we are looking to maintain existing conditions that mirror the remainder of the Tuxedo corridor through there. So large mature trees with grass ground cover.
There,
No plan at this point to make, instead of a 6-foot sidewalk, to go ahead, except for the trees, to go ahead and just put some sort of impervious cover on the rest of it.
The rest of that area is within the city right away, it would not be permitted, is my understanding, without any additional approval from the city.
and I'll add that there is a street tree requirement specifically out in the right-of-way. So the school district, in order to follow that, does need to either put in new plantings, or they have elected to keep these trees in the right-of-way. So you couldn't just by city code go in and concrete that whole area. There is a street tree requirement that they have those canopy trees there.
Thank you.
Okay. There's been no one that has signed up, so
Sorry, a couple more slides.
go
and
ahead.
then,
Oh, okay.
that
I
got
thought you were
got into
that-
most of the detail there,
Okay,
but
sorry.
this is just a depiction of the actual text amendments that were provided in the proposed ordinance sent out to P&Z. This reflects what we discussed, that there's going to be a 6-foot wide landscape buffer along the rear. That's D. Anything in red text has been changed. The 8-foot buffer getting reduced to 0 along Tuxedo, at least inside the property. And then the West Fair Oaks, the previous request was for the 6-foot wide landscape buffer along both side yards. This is just specifying, it broke it up into two, saying West Fair Oaks is 6 feet and then Tuxedo is 0 feet. This will be considered at the city council meeting on July 13th, pending a recommendation from the board. And all property owners within 200 feet of the subject tract were notified of the request tonight. To date, staff has received 1 letter of support from inside that 200-foot radius, has not received any letters either way outside the 200-foot radius. Staff is happy to answer any questions you may have. We also have Eric, who's answered a couple already. We will need to conduct a public hearing as well this evening.
When did the mailer go out?
Roughly, Garrett, do you remember off the top of your head? Okay, so, yeah, it's been a couple weeks. No, sir.
Would have been the week of the 22nd.
And just along those lines, the two neighbors behind here, or those two homes, the owners, no feedback from those two homeowners?
Directly abutting the property? No, ma'am. We just have one, but that's 2 properties away.
Yeah.
Okay. Are there any other questions from the
Okay.
board?
one other question. Is the trees that are in the right-of-way, whose responsibility is that to maintain those trees? If they're in the city right-of-way?
The property owners.
Okay,
The property owner, so.
okay.
Yes, sir, correct.
And to add on that, for the health of those trees, as well as to maintain that proposed ground cover underneath that heavily shaded area, we are adding irrigation, which has not been present in the previous development or since the district acquired that property. So hopefully to assist in the maintenance of those trees as we go forward and other plant matter.
I move we vote to approve case number 469.
Well, hold on a second, yeah. I've got to technically open it up to the public. So I have not received any sign-up sheets. I don't know if there's anybody on Zoom that wants.
We don't do, we don't provide the Zoom call-in
Okay,
anymore.
I didn't know,
Yes.
if sometimes, okay. That being said, since we have no comments, Richard, I think you can go ahead and make your.
Yes, I move we vote to approve case 469 as proposed.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None.
I appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item, Tyler?
Yes, sir. For our second and final item tonight, we have Planning and Zoning Case Number 470. It's a public hearing, consideration, and action regarding proposed amendments to Chapter 3 Zoning, Article 1, Section 3-2 Definitions, and Article 2, Section 3-8 Use of Land and Buildings of the City's Code of Ordinances. So we'll get into the specific text of the definition in a minute, but long story short, the city is proposing to add walk-up facilities, so basically a window where you'd walk up and can purchase food or product from inside the store as a defined land use in the city's zoning code. And this proposal would allow walk-up facilities by right in the city's business districts, which is B1, 2, and 3. So city zoning code is periodically updated just to provide greater clarity, kind of keep up with trends and the times and obviously the desires of the policymakers, just to make sure that everyone's on the same page regarding what property owners can and can't do from a land use perspective with their buildings. And walk-up facilities are currently being proposed to address current and prospective businesses in Alamo Heights. So went into it in the staff summary that P&Z received, but staff did is in receipt of a development application along Broadway that is proposing a walk-up window both on the front and then the side. It's in the Hanley Wood building, if you're looking at it at the right end. That's not currently occupied. And this is a situation where the actual land use of the city does have drive-up or drive-through facilities as a defined land use and provides where those can happen with a SUP. In this case, the city does not have, the city's code is silent with respect to these types of walk-up windows. So typically, just because the code doesn't, or if it's silent on something, doesn't mean that someone can do it. And so just to help provide clarity, not only for this business, but also, or prospective business, but also, there are a few areas in the city, it's a little apples to oranges, but there are concession stands in the city, even the city park project that's going in on the outside of the pool will have a walk-up window there. Those are in different zoning districts. They're all SF1, I believe. So those would be essentially grandfathered in with this. But since that land use has come up, and now it's coming up with a prospective business, not only for this business, but kind of looking ahead, city staff thought it was worth to bring forward a proposal for planning and zoning and city council to have the conversation for this potential land use. So the proposed definition, a walk-up facility would be a business facility wherein accommodations are constructed on the exterior wall of the building that are accessible to pedestrians and allow for the dispensing of and payment for food and retail goods without either party to the transaction being required to enter or exit the facility. So the two changes to the code would be adding this definition to the list of definitions in the zoning code, and then in the land use chart, allowing this land use by right in business districts in the city, which would be B1, B2, and B3. Regarding the policy analysis, the city has been undertaking various efforts over the past few years to enhance the public realm along commercial corridors in the city, and hopefully over time kind of create more vibrant pedestrian centric and friendly environments. And so with this proposed land use, from city staff's perspective, hopefully that is something that goes along with that and encourages pedestrian-friendly environments by allowing said land use. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions you may have. We also will require a public hearing for this, and happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
Tyler, I have some questions. How many facilities do we have in the city that are actually walk-up for this definition?
I don't know. I don't think we actually have any businesses right now that have one. Is that accurate?
There's just the pool grill area.
Or I should say traditional
Yeah.
businesses. So the soon to have one at the pool grill area.
Okay.
And then other than that, it's really just the concession stands that you'd have at a ball field or, yeah.
And so how do you treat a circumstance like the pool grill? Are they getting some sort of variance, or how's that individual circumstance treated?
So I believe that it's been in place, so that's just grandfathered.
Okay.
We just allow it until they decide to make changes, and at that point, we would seek compliance. But most of the work that they've done there has been repairs type work, so.
In the case of the Hanley Wood facility, if, let's say, this just didn't move forward from here, how would you handle that request from the business without this language?
Well, they would not be able to, they would be required to basically have a walk-in type. I believe, based on their permit request, I don't think they have that set up.
They don't, you can walk in and purchase food there, but there's not table areas where you can sit down inside. It's a kind of grab-and-go bakery. So that was part of staff's original feedback on the development application was, it's not currently allowed in the code. We did have recent-ish example of the SIPIT facility that requested a specific use permit, but under businesses other than listed, but that specifically deals in the code with kind of your standard vice-based businesses of alcohol, tobacco, et cetera. So nothing quite fit exactly what this was, and that's part of what led to this request.
So there's a choice. I mean, we could just allow it in general, or we could roll it up under the special use permits, in which case you would have to review them on a case-by-case basis.
That may be an option, but I think we'll have to get into
The
thoughts on this. But I think we might have to look at our SUP regulations to allow or
Right,
Something
because-
contemplate
by-
something like
So
that.
I guess,
Okay.
yes, you could, if you were wanting to support, you could say, that it would be allowed with an SUP, like currently drive-throughs they require an SUP. So, but the land use chart does allow it, you just have to get an SUP for it. It's this, could be the same for this if you all chose to do something like that. Not necessarily by right, but they'd have to come before the commission and then council to get permission to at least have it. The option to have it would be there. Right now, there is no option.
If I may, and the difference really is walking up, buying, doing the business exchange through a window instead of walking in a door that closes.
That's correct. Correct.
And it could be dry cleaners or food and beverage, but not necessarily food and beverage. It's just
Right.
the ability to punch a window in the side of your business and walk up.
That's correct.
Is there a business on the table at this moment?
Is there what? I'm
Is
sorry.
there a business on the table?
Yes, at the
Hanley?
if you're familiar with the Hanley Wood location, it's basically the small section to the right.
Okay.
So this business has a current location in Austin that I have been to. If I think it's the same one, where they have a standalone restaurant, and then next to it, they have literally a walk-up, and a lot of it had to do, at least from an outsider's view, it's very difficult to park in that area. So the restaurant wanted to maintain all of their parking spaces, and so when they created this second restaurant, it's pretty much just a walk-up opportunity. It's kind of odd in my opinion, but it's a great product. So, but I use the analogy is, what if we had approved, SIP it? So say we approve the SUP, they could have probably if this option had been available, I mean, they could probably use half the square footage they have now and just put a bank of drinks and then just hand them to people out a window. And so I think that's, or say if you take it Starbucks could put decrease their square footage to nothing and then just offer coffees out the window.
Right.
So that's what it looks like, essentially.
They're just being innovative and saving space and time and money, probably.
Well, I'll give you examples I'm thinking about right now, just off the top of my head. It's like Bird Bakery. There's a lot of people, that parking lot gets real crowded. But, I'd probably say 40% of people that go in there to pick stuff up, and boy, wouldn't that be, I could see how that would help also in the parking situation. Because, that's a prime example right there. So.
Don't people have to drive in a car to go there to pick
Yeah.
things up? So how would that necessarily?
Well, I'm just saying if they had a window there,
A drive-through.
a drive-through, or a window.
Well, this isn't a drive-through, this is a walk-up.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
Yeah.
walk-up.
A walk-up,
You still have to park.
Yeah, because, if they could do that, you're exactly right. But,
So it wouldn't affect the number of parking spaces they would have to
No.
have or anything like that?
No, the number of parking spaces would still be as it is in the code, which is based on gross square footage of the building. Which this shopping center currently does meet between the two properties. So, yeah, this would be basically a separate deal, but it wouldn't impact the parking
I'm
requirement.
just doing that as an example. I could see that would help in that situation. I have one more question, Tyler. As far as, and this is kind of getting off the subject, but where are we with food trucks with the city? Is that allowed?
Currently, the city allows them with special event permits
It's only
only.
special events, okay.
Graduation.
Okay, because I was just curious.
Yeah, so, but for the most part, a block party or someone holding an
Okay.
event, a commercial type event.
So it's a pull a permit. Okay, all right, that's all.
I like the idea of, a review process of each individual business who comes seeking, this type of operation. I think if it becomes by right, you run the risk of balance sheet light businesses trying to start up in a way that may not be commensurate with what we're trying to achieve here in Alamo Heights. So I like the opportunity to review the business, and similar to the process we did on SIPIT, understanding that was a little bit different.
Yeah, Tyler, I have a general question. One of the purposes of this is to promote pedestrian traffic, which to me means to try to stay away from so many automobiles around. And, truthfully, Alamo Heights historically was basically a very unsuccessful subdivision investment until the automobile became prevalent and people could drive from the downtown up here. And so we basically have matured around the automobile. So what other matters is the city of Alamo Heights looking towards, besides this open window where people can walk up, to try to promote pedestrian use of the downtown area?
Probably be a better question fielded by our assistant city manager or somebody, but I mean, in general, with the like the cleaning up of the Broadway-Ogden intersection that's going on right now, I think in the city's comp plan, and that language has been there for a while, the degree of success, I think, could be debated, but I know there's at least the desire to create those pedestrian opportunities. Now, regarding, and I know the city, throughout the neighborhoods, this kind of long-term sidewalk plans, which is why we require all of our new driveways as they're reconstructed to allow the proper angles for sidewalks to go in. But in terms of, and actually, well, in the school district, they're putting in, now that's the school district's project, but they're doing public realm improvements along in front of 60 and 100 Broadway. So I don't know if I have the best answer on that right now, but I know that it has been at least a historically desired addition to the community, as displayed in the comp plan. So
This goes all the
Thanks.
way
I know
back.
that, when we did, and correct me if I'm wrong, but, when we did the master plan a long time ago, that was all envisioned, Letty, I think, with sidewalks, and I don't know where we are on that, but that was, 10 years ago?
At least 10 years
Yeah.
ago, beautification of downtown.
Yeah. So if you ever look at that, that's still around.
The commission several years ago did make some changes to the business districts in conjunction with some of the TxDOT improvements. So
Right.
unfortunately, that's not taken place yet, but you all did recommend changes for that.
But Tyler, what you're saying right now, though, is like this business that it seems like they've been under construction for a while. Maybe not. Maybe or they're not under construction. It's just been-
they're not under construction right now.
Okay,
They're seeking a permit.
okay.
Yes.
So right now, they're basically waiting because there's no method by which to grant them a permit.
That's correct. Currently, there's no
So-
method, so.
So how soon if we went the route that we were just discussing of having it under some sort of like special use or some type of review, how long would that take?
So if you all make a recommendation for an approval with a SUP or by SUP requirement, once it goes to council, they adopt, the soonest that you all could hear that would possibly be maybe August
Okay.
at the earliest, because we'd
And
have to
if
do
it
public
can't
notice.
get rolled up under the current one, then a new one, essentially a new SUP type use would be created.
If you approve it, if you recommend approval just by right,
Okay,
and it goes to council, then at that point, if it's approved, then as long as we have what we need for,
I mean, approve it with a review type process,
So-
similar to, okay,
so if you do that, then the soonest that you all could hear that request would be August.
okay.
I have
But
a,
Nikki, I want to make sure that I'm understanding what you're saying. We're not being asked tonight to put it under an SUP. Okay, that's kind of.
No,
Okay, yeah,
right.
I mean, that's kind of what I'm hearing you saying that you'd like. Now, if I'm not hearing that right, that's not what the, we're
That is
basically.
not, right, that's not what they're proposing.
Okay, yeah.
I
yeah.
think Madison,
But I understand what Madison and y'all are getting at is, I mean, I personally wouldn't want to have it at SUP for these facilities, but I would like to have it clear, okay, when somebody comes, like they're asking for this, to make sure that it is in accordance and will, not create any issues with, wherever it is. But I'm kind of opposed to having SUPs on this. I'd like to hear what everybody else has to say.
But I think if we approve this and it becomes by right, then they don't have to ask. They
Well,
just do it.
yeah, and I think,
But the question is, do you want a SUP for every
It would
time you walk
it would
in?
basically be like a case-by-case basis. Everyone or any business who was seeking a walk-up would have to come before you all
Right.
for,
And I'm asking you, is that what you want?
Yes, because I think the good news is we probably won't hear many, if at all, because none even exist currently, except for the one at the pool that's grandfathered in.
Right.
yeah, just to Madison's point, is there anything in this proposal that would require the business to have basically an interior retail space or food space? Or can somebody just come and just say, we're just going to have a window that we're going to sell items from? Is there anything that would limit what kind of businesses could just open up a window without opening up say, a retail store behind it?
no.
Kind of like
there-
a ghost kitchen is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay. A ghost kitchen.
we all saw the bear.
Okay, yeah.
It could be an amendment to the definition if you wanted that to be included. Allow the walk-up facility but it has an interior seating area where customers could enter, like I think they're proposing now. But I know for future, if you all wanted to, you could make an amendment to the definition as is written to require it.
That is where I think the SUP is pretty clean because it allows you to review those plans case by case.
Yeah, I think the only problem with the SUP is it's hard to really make plans because you have to get through the political process. But if they had a very definite regulation that defined what the interior space, the minimum interior space would be required, then they could have the right to have a window to sell outside. I think at least people could look at it and say, okay, if we comply with these requirements, we will be able to do it. And as to we making an amendment, I think that should be an amendment that should be considered by the city attorney's office.
You could make a recommendation for an amendment. We'll provide that to the city's attorney. And when we present it to council, it would be presented as recommended by you all with the amendment. And then council can decide on whether they want to approve it as recommended or if they want to make changes to the definition, they could. Or they could just approve. So, you do have the ability to make a recommendation for a change with your proposal.
What do you think, Madison?
I'm struggling to come up with an example of an accretive business to a suburban area like this across the country that has a walk-up window where you'd be excited to have it in your city. And so, given that, I hesitate to codify it because if you do that, you could end up, like I said, having balance sheet light companies opening up windows and selling anything, retail goods in our city. And I don't know if I like the sound of that without the review process.
Almost like a fear. What is it, a market?
Anything.
And they just
Retail
have little
goods.
booths
Right.
wherever.
Okay. I can't make a motion. Do y'all want to, y'all want to discuss this more, or would y'all like to, how do y'all want to proceed?
I have a question. What was the resistance to, the SUP process would satisfy this. What's the reluctance to move forward with something like this on a SUP basis? Because you have to go through all that first before you could even start making plans?
Yeah, it takes, going up and back, it takes months to do that. That's the problem.
I mean, although applicants are encouraged to come in and meet with staff ahead of time, we unfortunately do have applicants that don't, and that was the case with this. So, so submitting plans, and as we're reviewing, that's when we identified the issue. If people come in ahead of time and say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this, and we can say, okay, well, you can't do this, or you could do this, but there's an SUP process, or, but it's unfortunate with any projects in all types of districts. We do have people that, come in and thinking that they can do something and then they can't. Or they sign a lease not confirming whether the use is allowed, or, so.
I think we should accept this and just have an exception and say, let them go through the SUP process.
Do you want to make a motion?
I make a motion that we accept this process.
Did we formally open the public hearing?
Yeah, I'm sorry, just hold on. Yeah,
Did we,
but there, you said this is for, see, we're having a separate public hearing. Isn't that what you just said? I mean, I understand for the last one, but I'm just saying, this is gonna be, before the city council. You said that there's.
Yes, this
that
will
is
go
gonna
before
be a
city
public,
council.
So there's.
but the commission still has to open up to the public, even though there's no
I'll
public.
Formally, I'll open up to the floor. There's been no one that has signed up to speak on this. So with that being said, I'll take any recommendation or from the board.
I recommend that we accept this proposal as discussed. Madison, you need to add something? With an exception to,
I would make a slightly adjusted motion that we accept this definition as proposed, but that all applicants for this type of use would have to engage with the city to have permissions under an SUP.
but don't they know that? So, no, they don't, okay.
So right now, there's not any type of process, so is it, would it be a recommendation for approval conditioned upon, instead of being allowed by right in business districts, B1, 2, and 3, it requires an SUP? Okay. Just wanted to make sure that we heard that correctly.
So can you
Let me try one.
restate the motion?
I move that we ask the city attorney's office, to review this proposal to better define what type of interior retail or food establishment is required before it can have an open window on the outside. And that the city then bring that amended proposal back to us for further review.
So that would be
Table.
essentially a table.
Is that a
Motion
table?
motion to table
Motion to table
for
then.
further research. The city attorney did review this ordinance, but that would be, I think if, we can have city staff look into what might be that appropriate square footage amount, if planning and zoning has any ideas that can kind of help us
What's our current minimum?
get in the right direction. I don't think that,
Like you can lease something as large as a closet if it's available, right?
I think in practice, that's going to be really challenging. And I don't think it's the city's place to be putting requirements onto businesses to execute certain by right uses. I just don't think that's appropriate.
And it'll be a major turnoff to a lot of people that they would have to do that process on top of everything else.
Well,
Don't you think?
I think if we have a specific definition, it would be an objective definition, not something subjective.
But maybe not the city staff.
But I think it's a good idea to have that option out there, but I understand Madison's point is that we just don't want somebody to open up a window and not have a legitimate retail space behind it. So that's why I think we should table the motion and ask for a better definition about what would be required regarding the interior store in order to be able to have one of these windows on the exterior.
I just think that clarification would be unique in all of our uses, all of the codes for all of the uses in the city of Alamo Heights. And I think it would be odd for the city to codify, square footage amounts for businesses.
Well, I think what the proposal talks about is allows for the dispensing of and payment for food and retail goods without either party to the transaction being required to enter or exit the facility. So I think we're talking basically about food and retail goods. That's what we're talking about. Yeah.
But not necessarily.
Yeah.
Could it maybe be retail goods with the ability to, or requirement to have the ability to enter?
I'm okay with something like that, not putting a square footage amount on it, okay? Because I do have a problem with that. But I understand what you're saying, okay? And we could probably do something like that, maybe subject to the city attorney blessing it. I mean, or, we can table it right now. And
I think it's something that needs to be thought through, and I hate to shoot from the hip right now, but it would have to come up again to us, and we would have another opportunity to look at it. And we're not committing to agree to it or not. I think we just have to look and give it a shot. I think it's a good idea, but I sure recognize the abuses that could come about that.
Well, and I think, we can also refer to the city of San Antonio and the city of Austin who have accommodate walk-up businesses. So, there are other cities that we can look to.
you probably got this definition from one of those two, didn't you? I'm guessing.
Or Claude?
It wasn't from Claude. No, it was.
But I don't
It
know.
was
if
a
they
large Midwestern city, but yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and so it's taken that and kind of mirrored or changed it up a little bit to kind of mirror our drive-through definition as well. But yeah, I guess if it does end up being a table, just, if there are some couple different options that we would like to explore, that would just help staff understand.
I just think this use is so rare. I just don't think it's going to pop up much at all. And that's where the SUP is just really clean in dealing with it. Instead of us, we're going to end up spending a lot of time on this, and then nobody will ever, ask for it ever again.
I agree.
Or they do, in which case we can go back to this option of, okay, now that we have multiple businesses requesting this, do we need to standardize it? Right. And then we would know more about square footage and whatnot.
Because I guess if you think about it, is it, if we do go with the caveat with this SUP, we're going to see every one of these, okay? And if it's
But I
not
think that's
something that
okay.
we like, we can turn it down on the SUP.
That's right.
Because remember, we all got to keep in mind the buildings that these would go in already exist. So we know essentially the menu of options in all of these locations that are zoned B1, B2, B3, and you can know where these windows may or may not show up. And if you run through the list of options, they're not going to show up.
Banks?
Okay.
Are you still of the opinion you want to go? I mean, we talked a lot there, and there's
Yeah.
motions on the floor, but,
I think that we've given our opinions, and I think they're all valid opinions. But I'd hate to basically terminate the possibility that we could have something worked out, which would allow, in certain cases, this walk-up. Because I know in the past, it probably has a view of not being the type of place that we want in our fair city at Alma Heights, but I think truthfully, we need to be more pedestrian-friendly in Alma Heights. And there are probably a lot of things going on in other cities right now where they see the same type of problems that we're concerned about, that they're able to make these things work. And we're not agreeing that we're going to vote for this. What we're saying, at least what I'm saying, is flesh it out. Let us see what exactly we're talking about, and then we can make another decision about it.
okay.
I think, I'm going to second Madison's motion,
I third it.
which was, I don't want to repeat it, but it was,
Do you want to make your motion again for the record?
His motion.
well, I'm seconding Madison's.
Oh, Madison's,
that
I'm
he already
sorry, I thought
made.
you said.
Because
Madison's, I'm
there's
sorry.
3 motions on the table.
Yeah, okay,
Mhm.
okay. Let's,
We asked Madison to repeat his motion.
yeah.
Forgot to turn that motion.
Okay.
No fault of his.
For case number 470, the motion is to approve the definition in zoning districts as presented, but that all businesses seeking to create a business under this definition in these zoning districts would have to seek an SUP.
Okay, Nikki.
Yeah, and I've seconded.
Second it, okay. Any more discussion? No. Okay, all those in favor? Aye. Okay, opposed? Okay, that's all right. All right, the motion passes. Tyler, is there anything else?
No further items, sir.
Okay. Anybody else would like to discuss anything? Or is there, well, is there anything you might tell us, Letty or Tyler, that's coming up? for
We
next
just
month?
have a few replat cases and and the Embry project.
The Embry project, okay, great. All righty. Oh,
That's correct.
correct, yeah.
Are they doing the SUP as well, right? I believe they're also doing their SUP that at the same time. So should have total about 4 cases for August.
Okay,
Embry will come up in August.
I believe so, yes, sir. Mhm.
all right. You don't need to wear your suit, Madison.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
I mean, I get it, everyone's gonna go, traffic, tall building, but it's like, or abandoned building, and bad
Think-
building,
yeah,
so, like,
We just need to adjourn.
yeah. Okay, the time is now.
I move to adjourn.
Okay, hold on, I need to say this. Time is now 6:22. May I please have a motion to adjourn?
I move to adjourn the meeting.
I second it.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.